Today's lesson is lesson 3, evaluating expressions, and our objective is to evaluate expressions using order of operations. So when we have an expression, say we have the sum of the product of 2 and x and 5. So we have the product of 2 and x, and we're finding its sum along with 5. Okay, x stands for some number, and we don't know what that is. When we're evaluating an expression, we're going to say if x equals any number, let's say it says if x equals 3, what would that expression stand for? So in that case, we would put a 3 in for x. So we would say instead of 2 times x, now we're saying that x is 3. So we do 2 times 3 plus 5. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 5 is 11. That's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, let's get the page turned here. Okay, so the word evaluate just means to solve. So here are some examples. Evaluate each expression for x equals 4 and y equals 3. So as we look at each one of these expressions, numbers 1 through 4, every time we see an x, we're going to say instead of x, we're going to use 4. Every time we see a y, instead of y, we're going to use a 3. So I want you to do these in a very specific way, just how you did the order of operations problems. First, you should write down the problem. Next, I want to see what it looks like when you fill in the number for the variable. So for number 1, we have x plus 8. X is 4, so I'm going to write this now as 4 plus 8. And now I can solve it. 4 plus 8 is 12. Number 2 is 4 minus y. So I'm going to write 4 minus y is now 3, because it tells us up here y is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. Number 2, I have 2 times x. I'm going to use parentheses to show multiplication. So 2 times 4, because x equals 4, plus 5 times 3, because y equals 3. Multiplication first. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 8 is 23. Number 4, I have some exponents. So I have x squared. So I'm going to write 4 squared. And I like to use parentheses when I'm squaring things, and you'll see why later when we start to use negative numbers. Now I'm going to do minus 3 cubed. Okay, now I'm going to do exponents. What's in the parentheses is already done, so there's nothing to do there. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16, minus 3 times 3 is 9, times another 3 is 27. So I have 16 minus 27. In my head, I'm going to do 27 minus 16, which is 11. So I get negative 11. Okay, here are some for you to try. So we're going to evaluate the following expressions for r equals 6 and s equals 2. Pause the video, try these on your own, and then check back with me for the solutions. Okay, you should have tried these on your own. Number 1, we have 2 times r is 6 minus 8 times 2. 2 times 6 is 12, 8 times 2 is 16, and 12 minus 16 is negative 4. Number 2, r is 6, so we have 6 divided by 12 plus 2. 6 divided by 12 is just 0.5, or you could also write it as the fraction 1/2, plus 2, and 1/2 plus 2 is 2 1/2. And it would also be okay if you wrote it as 2 1/2. Like that. Okay, number 3, we have 6 squared divided by 3 minus 2 times 2. 6 times 6 is 36. 36 divided by 3 minus 2 times 2. 36 divided by 3 is 12. And 2 times 2 is 4. 12 minus 4 is 8. Number 4, I'm going to keep my parentheses, 6 minus 1 over 2 to the 3rd power. Now I have to do what's inside the parentheses before I can raise it to the third power, before I can do the exponent. So I'm going to do what's on top first. 6 minus 1 is 5 over 2 to the third power. Okay, now this one's just a little bit tricky because you could do 5 divided by 2 and you could write down what you got. But there's also another way you can do fractions, and we'll learn about this more when we do exponents. If we're going to do 5 halves to the third power, we can do 5 to the third power over 2 to the third power. So we can also write it out like this. So 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So we have 125 over 8. It's okay to leave this as an improper fraction. You could also have done this. I'm going to just back up and show you a different route. You could have said that 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So I'm going from this 5 divided by 2, 2.5 to the third power. And 2.5 to the third power is 15.625. Now if we take our original answer over here, if we take 125 divided by 8, we also get 15.625. So these answers, 15.625 and 125 over 8 are equivalent answers. They are the same, and either answer would be acceptable, but sometimes when you're taking a multiple choice test, you might get 125 over 8, but it might not be an answer choice. You might see 15.625 as your answer choice. So it's good to be able to recognize equivalent answers. Okay, this page tells us to be careful when the numbers are negative. You have to be really careful about using parentheses and making sure you follow your negative number rules. So we're going to use the same examples that we did on the first page, but now we're going to use negative values instead of positive values. So we're going to evaluate each expression for x equals negative 4 and y equals negative 3. So for number 1, we have x is negative 4 plus 8, and negative 4 plus 8 is simply 4. Number 2, we have 4 minus y. Now y is a negative 3, so we're doing this negative here is not the same as this negative, it's an additional negative. We have 4 minus a negative 3. And I like to use parentheses because it just divides the number up a little bit and makes it easier to see. When we subtract a negative, it's the same as adding a positive. So 4 plus 3 is 7. These are the kinds of things that people often miss because many times people will just write 4 minus 3 instead of 4 minus a negative 3. Okay, number 3, we have 2 times negative 4 plus 5. Y is negative 3. So we have negative 8 plus negative 15. Signs are the same, so we're going to add the numbers and keep the signs. 15 plus 8 is 23, but it's going to be negative. Okay, with exponents, it's especially important to make sure you use parentheses. Negative 4 squared minus negative 3 cubed. Now, if we have negative 4 squared, I'm just going to write this off to the side. That's like doing negative 4 times negative 4. When we multiply two negatives, the answer is positive. So negative 4 squared is 16. If we did not put the number in parentheses, instead of writing negative 4 squared, maybe we just wrote negative 4 squared. Well, in that case, we might say, well, I'm just going to do 4 squared, and 4 times 4 is 16, so I would have negative 16. So the answer to negative 4 in parentheses squared is positive 16, but the answer to negative 4 squared is negative 16. So it's really important that when you are substituting negative 4 in for x and you're squaring all of x, you have to square the whole negative 4, not just the 4. That's why we use parentheses. So negative 4 times negative 4 is 16 minus. Now, negative 3 to the third power, let me just use a different color. I'll write this over here. We have negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Now, if we take a negative 3 times a negative 3, we're going to get a positive 9. And then a positive 9, actually, let's just write that out. We have positive 9 times negative 3 is going to be a negative 27. So going back over here, we now have 16 minus a negative 27. So we have 16 plus 27. Let's see, that would be 36. That would be 43. And when I do mental math in my head, I add 16 plus 20 first, and I get 36, and then I add the 7 to give me 43. Now, if you go back and look at the answers from the first page, the answers are very different on this page with the addition of those negative numbers. So that's why it's really important to be careful with negative numbers. On the next page, I have some examples for you to try. Oh, I take that back. I guess I do not have some examples for you to try. Sorry about that. Okay, so your assignment is either page 13, 25 through 33. This is the basic assignment. And the second assignment is the challenge assignment. If you are in Honors Algebra 1, you most certainly should be doing the challenge assignment. If you are not in Honors, you can choose either assignment that you want. So the challenge assignment has slightly fewer problems, but perhaps some more interesting problems. Make sure you follow the steps. You're going to write the problems, show me what it looks like when you substitute the values, and then solve using all of the steps in your order of operation. All right, thank you for watching.